Bob and Val are on their way to Minmus. Our target, Minmus. See the little kink we have there? We are now in the sphere of influence of Minmus. There we are. So where's Minmus? There we go, there's Minmus. And then reach in here and decouple. There we go. Put the RCS on and just push away. Dribbling out fuel now and wasting it completely. We will waste it when we're nearer the surface. No, we're not taking that science, so you can stop beeping at me. This is about the most gentle I've ever landed on anything. And so let's turn her over. Kill the engine. And there we go, we're down. Just a smidgen of a bounce. And there we go. The Grumpf bug has landed, so well done. Well done, Bob. Right, well, we've just moved off from our original location, our landing location. You can just see the flag there in the background. And we've got a long way to go. Let's just zoom out. What we're going to do is we're going to try going down this slope in this direction and either get some flats data here or some flats data here, and hopefully another biome somewhere in the middle. Now we've got X science, and X science will tell us exactly what science we have where we currently are. So show experiments available right now has been selected. So we're in the Minmus lowlands, which is a bit of a shame. If we'd landed a bit further up, maybe where it changes colour, we might have had some highlands as well. But well, Bob's got a long day ahead of him, so when we reach the next objective, we'll wake him up. Okay, well, we have just arrived in Minmus's Midlands, so let's stick the brakes on. We've also got RCS, so let's get some RCS braking going. So we don't want to overshoot this biome. So let's there we go. We're at 8 meters per second. We're not quite going straight downhill, so we are sliding a little bit to the right. You can see our trajectory is slightly different. We've just gone onto the slopes. Oh dear, we managed to miss that biome, so we're going to have to go back. So let's literally go back. So let's take the brakes off and just reverse up a few hundred meters. So we want to go back until this says, what was it, Midlands. Back to the Midlands. There we go. So brakes on. RCS braking as well. And there we go. We're now side on. And we now have, I'm using X Science, as I say, to check on all the science that we can complete. So we've got a full suite of science available to us. So let's start at the bottom with a temperature scan. Wait for that module, there we go, temperature scan. Keep that. Pressure scan's in the same module, so we'll keep that as well. Then down here we have the surface hydrogen scan. There you go, just see it heating up there. That's that device right in there. There we go, we'll transmit that 30 science. Mystery goo is in the module down here at the bottom. So we'll keep that. That materials bay is on this side. Keep that. These laser surface scan, this is a nice little animation for this. It looks like it's upside down, but it isn't. If we do the laser scan, laser goes out, and then the monitor just checks on the surface gas is released. So there we go, we will transmit that. Next is the magnetometer out here on the top. There we go, so let's just pull this out of the way for a moment and we'll transmit that. There we go, transmitter coming up again. Starting transmission. We'll do a crew report, which we will also transmit for 25 science. And finally we will do the EVA report. There we go, EVA report. We will keep that data and we will store it. And then we will spacebar to climb out. We will take a surface sample and EVA report whilst we are here. I don't know why it tells you can transmit the science, because poor old Bob here does not have a transmitter on him. And we will go round and collect all the science and then roll forward and do the whole thing again. So we'll pick up with Bob very shortly. Well, Bob's coming up on this flats area now. We've done lowlands, midlands and slopes so far. We're still in the slopes biome. This is the Grumpf bug vehicle, looking very small in respect of its environment. So let's just zoom on in and just start to control our speed, because this is getting quite steep and I don't intend hitting that flat area particularly hard. So we're doing 14 meters per second at the moment. So let's just get the RCS brakes working as well. Bring it down, so down to there we go, 10 meters per second. Brakes are on, and let's just slow ourselves down. We're beginning to sort of slide sideways down the hill, so we need to just turn a little as well, just so we're going with the flow. So 4 meters per second. Let's just release the brakes. Let's just keep it around about, well, less than 10 meters a second, so that when we get to the bottom we can slam the brakes on and stop nice and gently. Now, so like I say, we've visited 3 biomes so far. This should be our 4th biome. We've also got all of the science we've collected on our way down and any science we collect on our way up. So I think this is going to prove to be a very profitable journey. Very profitable indeed, and that's without bringing all of the extra science equipment that we could have brought. We just brought this set of science here and, oh, wrong side, these 2 science experiments here. So put the brakes on again. It's getting quite steep now. Go just under 8 meters a second. Slowing down just nicely, so we haven't got far to go. Go sideways, there we go. Just down to here, a few hundred meters I suspect. Plenty of resources. We've got 3 days worth of supplies, so that's good. The oxygen, actually, although I've put an oxygen canister on, where is it? That's food. I think I put an oxygen canister on one side. I can't remember which one it is. Is it this one? Yeah, oxygen. The loose oxygen in USI containers is actually for processes rather than for breathing. Supplies covers food, water and oxygen. So it's not actually necessary to bring the additional separate tanks, just the supply tank. So let's put the brakes on again, because we're getting pretty close now. Not sure exactly where flats starts, around about this rock I suspect. I just don't want to slam my nose into the ground when we get to the bottom. So what I might do is just nose up when we get near the bottom. So let's start going. We're going almost north now, almost directly north. And to be honest, we've got so much supplies, plenty of monopropellant, electricity and so on. We could stay here for days. But you know what? Bob is getting a little bit bored of stuck in that dark cockpit. So I think he needs a break. And Val has been playing an awful lot of solitaire up in the orbiting return vehicle. So we will, after this, we will send them back. So here we go. We're getting quite close now to this slopes. There we go. We're on the flats now. So I think I'm actually going to let us roll down onto the flats proper and then take one last load of science. So the surface sample, if you can just about make that out, is 200 science. So this is, you know, just 3 surface samples from these 3 biomes are worth more science than we collected at the KSC. So that is all good news. So we're certainly going to be collecting a lot more. I should have nosed up. There we go. We are just coming to a halt here on the flats proper. So let's use RCS just to give us our final bit of braking. There we go. We're past that rock onto this lighter colour mint ice cream. So another round of science. So let's do another round of science. Let's get science alerts open. We shall do a temperature scan. Keep that data. Surface hydrogen scan, which is the little one around the corner here. There we go. To see it lighting up. Let's move this down a little. There we go. So we will transmit that. Mystery goo. Looks like we forgot to collect our pressure data, so we might have to do a couple of experiments when we get back in. So let's keep that. Magnetometer. So that's that one done. Transmit that one. Laser. There we go. And transmit that one. Crew report. 25 science, we'll transmit that. And then the EVA report. So let's take an EVA report. No EVA report for just... We must have passed over Minmus's greater flats on arrival. So let's reset that and just drop back down onto the surface. And here we have 2 experiments. These are the 2 shown here. We'll take the surface sample. There's our 150 science. We didn't get quite all of that science. But we'll keep what we got. And then we'll do the EVA report for being on the surface. So let's just pop round and collect all of the science. We'll have to do the pressure. We'll have to do the pressure one as well, won't we? So let's just reach in here, take the data and restore it. Reach underneath for... Yes, you're going home. Don't worry, Bob, you're going home very shortly. So let's take and restore. That's just so... Oh dear, that's just so funny. Oh dear, right, wait for this to go. I think Bob's going stir crazy. So let's just pop round the side and take the pressure data. Let's take the pressure data. Move in, here we go. Let's take the data. Let's log new data. Keep. Log and keep. And can I take another one? Yes, I can. Let's take both. And then let's pop back into the cockpit and prepare for the journey home. Right, so let's get into the cockpit. Here we go. Turn around. Let's get the little jetpack on. So what are we going to do? Let's just shuffle sideways. Then we're going to up, forward, and grab. In we go. Come on, in you go, Bob. Oh, we've got double experiment there somewhere. So let's take another materials bay. Looks like we've got a little bit of material science left that we can gather. So we'll take that. Another 125. We'll keep that. Laser surface scan. Can we take another one? Seems to think we can. Yes, another 30 science. And crew report. So obviously the previous crew report didn't transmit. So we'll just wait for this one to transmit. And then we will head on out. So let's transmit that one. No more experiments available. Toggle the magnetometer. Let's just shut up these bay doors. And prepare for, where we go, toggle sensors. And we'll just prepare having a look at map mode. I don't think we can see Val. We'll just go into map mode, and there we go. 6.8 kilometres, there we go. So I don't think we can see Val, so let's just pop into map mode and find out where she is. Right, well, poor old Val is over here on the dark side, so let's set that as target. And our orbit, we're a little bit below the orbit, but to be perfectly honest, I am just going to go equatorial, so that means taking off more or less along the eastward 90 degree marker, and then we'll worry about matching orbits later. Her orbit is 53 kilometers, but we'll just get up to sort of 10, 12, 15 kilometers, and then we will circularize and meet her there. So let's zoom back in. So which way we're going to be going? We're going to be going basically back out that way. So what we're going to do, we've got RCS on. I think I'm just going to turn through 90 degrees. So let's just get ourselves up off the surface and then just turn to face roughly the direction of travel. So that's where we're going. So let's activate the engine. Deactivated it earlier so we didn't make any mistakes. So let's just activate the engine. We'll get up and off the ground. Start the engine going, face up. Get the gear up. And there we go. So let's just get off in the 90 degree direction. Let's just have a look. There we go, taking off. Apoapsis is a few hundred meters. Hopefully we're not going to hit anything. No, we're going up just fine. Going up perfectly. We can see our apoapsis here as well. We want to get up to about 10 or 12,000 meters. So we'll be well above ridges and mountains like this one. Let's just rotate ourselves. So there we go. Perfect. 13,000 will do fine. Let's get... I was going to say, let's get KOS up. Can't get KOS because we don't have the little mini KOS device. So we're going to have to do all of this by hand. Poor old Bob is going to have to do all of this by hand. So there we go. So pull on that. Rather overdid it, Bob. So let's bring that back. We still have precise node to help us. There we go. So about 13 kilometers orbit. That's fine. We'll use the ascending node here to level off our two orbits. So this is going to be an exercise in... We did this in the Pirate and Fade episode of just rendezvousing two vehicles because we don't have a docking port. So Bob is just going to EVA over to Val's return craft, and we're going to leave the Grumpbug 1 in orbit. So we've got an 11-second burn in this direction. Here we go. We don't really need the RCS. Let's switch the RCS off. In just under 5 minutes time. So let's have one last look at our landing site, and there's the landing site just there, rather bright surface, but there's our landing site right there. And we travelled along here. This was the lowlands. We managed to find some midlands here, some slopes here, and then finally the greater flats here. So that was 4 biomes plus all the science we've collected on the way. So we've done a rather good job. Rather a good job. So we've got a bit of way to go. So let's use time warp to speed ourselves along. So let's get it to under a minute. Okay, slow down a bit. Here we go. We're under a minute to go. So we want to go on about the 6 seconds. 10 seconds. Let's slow right down. And there we go. Let's keep our eye on the blue maneuver node. And just extend our orbit out. There we go. That'll do just fine. That'll do fine. Right. Now, just like any other rendezvous, the first step is to, well, get yourself into orbit. We've done that. The next step is to use either the ascending or descending node And we can use precise node to move the position of the node. So let's pretend we'd set it here and we want to move it to the ascending node. Just click on the ascending node button. There you go, perfectly positioned on the ascending node. And because we're ascending, we want to descend our orbit and pull that down until those two node markers just flip over. So pull up very gently, there we go. So there is a maneuver node at 16.9 meters per second. There you go, 16.9. And that should bring us to an almost perfect plane-on-plane orbit. So we've got a 2-second burn. And the 2-second burn is going to be in this direction. So it's going to be more or less south. So we'll have a look out here in exterior view with chase cam on. Our little probe orbiting here. There we go, just over horizon, 34 kilometers ago is our landing spot. So in 5 minutes and 11 seconds we will want to do this plane change. So let's just accelerate forward. Mind you, we do have some more science we can get. Another EVA report. So this is an oh, just missed it. Must have been an EVA report maybe over Highlands. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. There we go, EVA report. Let's do the EVA report. It is an EVA report over Highlands. Yes, there we go. So let's keep that and board. Get safely aboard. So I think I'm going to do a quick save. Do a quick save now. Poor old Bob, frightened out of his wits. So let's just close that up. So we've got 4 minutes 42 seconds. So let's just advance ourselves along for a burn on around about the 1 second mark. So there we go, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, going down to 2 minutes. Here we are, 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds. Warp factor 10. So we drop down to 40 seconds. 20. And now we're at 10, so let's just make sure we're ready to go. It's going to be very, very short, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So there we go, let's rev up, burn away and stop. There we go. So let's have a look. Point 1, perfect. Point 1 is absolutely great. So we are now plane on plane, we are coplanar. The next job is to find the point at which another maneuver, let's say here, will intersect Val's orbit. So there we go. We're going to intersect Val's orbit, but we're going to be quite a long way apart. So the target position is going to be ahead of us. So let's see if we move these around, see them getting closer together or further apart. So here they're further apart because this orbit 56 and 53. So we have a different distance to travel. So let's have a look. We're not actually that bad. This intersection is probably worth chasing. It's 2.4 kilometers. So let us just try a little bit more prograde and bring ourselves around. There we go. What's that? 0.8. Now this again is where we can get precise node to help us. We want to go forward or back in time, just very slightly, looking for better encounter. That's 0.8. Click a few, still 0.8, so that's too tiny an increment. So let's go to 0.1. So we've got 0.8, we're going to go back in time. That's further away. 1.4, so let's go the other way. Oops, that's prograde, sorry, wrong button. Bring them together. 0.7. 0.9, so let's go back. 0.8. Still 0.8. 0.8. That might be as close as we are going to get, unless we're slightly out. What if we're slightly out? Are we? I can't tell. It looks like we need to add a little to the prograde and then change our time again. Nope, wrong way. Here we go. Too far. 0.4. Excellent. We're never going to get closer than that. 0.4. So 0.4 on this manoeuvre. So it's in the current orbit. That's the advantage of having quite a wide difference between your two orbits. It doesn't take long for your orbits to synchronise. So let's just advance to the manoeuvre node. Give us 3 minutes warning of advancing to the manoeuvre node. But the problem with being in quite a low orbit is that we can't advance time warp very far. So we're at time warp 50 right now. So we're coming around. We're getting quite a few, I think quite a few EVAs are popping up, but I think we'll concentrate on meeting up with Val, because Val is bored witless of solitaire. So we've run down to a time warp of 1, so let's get ourselves lined up. So the manoeuvre node's over there. There we go. And it's a 2-second burn in 2 minutes 50. So let's just advance and get ourselves down to about 10 seconds. Here we go. So we've got 10 seconds to go. So we're going to slam on the thrust and then slam on the brakes. There we go. So how good did we get? There we go, this one, 0.4. That's exactly what we expected, 0.4. So we're going to meet at this manoeuvre node at exactly 0.4 of a kilometre apart. It's flickering just, actually we might be at 300, so that's pretty good. That is pretty good. So let's advance time as we swing out towards Val's craft at time warp 50 and now time warp 100. So this is the next step in any rendezvous. We've orbited, we've matched planes. We've now swung out to meet at an intersection. And now as we approach Val, we just saw Val's craft, there we go, then we just saw Val's craft. The next thing we're going to need to do is wait until we get right up close to around about 400 meters and then slam on the brakes. So we're in position. We're going almost directly backwards towards Val. Warp factor 10 and then 50 as we start coming down. Now the important thing to do here is not to rush velocity towards your target, but instead use time warp, because time warp is the easy thing to stop and start. Braking, on the other hand, apart from braking your vessel, is one of the things that is less easy to stop. Yes, braking and slowing down. Right, so here we go. We're coming up. We're at 50 meters per second, which is not that bad. We're going to slide just down the side of Val's vessel. We're now under a kilometre. And I think it's time we started to bring down, because we're starting to drift away from directly towards. So now is the time to bring down the relative target velocity. So make sure this is on target, and then point towards your retrograde vector and cancel out your relative speed. Now, we could have gone down to about 400 meters, but I didn't want to risk it. I don't want to risk zooming past when we're so close. So now we are pointing towards Val, and let's go towards her at about, let's say 5 meters. I said 5 meters per second. Let's do 2.5. Let's be very cautious. So we're still being just about see Val's vehicle there in the distance, our recovery vessel. There's good old Bob giving her a wave. Rather muddy looking Minmus there in the background. So we're going towards at 2.4 meters per second. So let's just swing round and be prepared to bring ourselves to a stop again. Now, as long as the yellow and the pink symbols are for your target. Yours are the yellowish green symbols. People call them green. They just always look yellow to me. But there you go. So as long as they stay roughly aligned, that means you are still going towards your target. And if they drift apart too much, that's time to make a correction. So at the moment we're doing just fine. Got plenty of fuel, plenty of RCS as well. We could have done most of this with RCS, because RCS is not very powerful, but it's very efficient. So we could have done most of this just with RCS. So we are beginning to drift off just very slightly off to the right. So when we slow down, I want to be slowing down and just herding our retrograde marker across a little. We don't want to crash into Val's vessel, so we'll be stopping about 40 or 50 meters out, and then we'll do an EVA for the rest of the distance. So Bob's very much in the dark now, with his back there to the sun, but he's happy to be going home. So we're 260 meters out now. Let's just use time warp to bring ourselves a little bit closer. So this is just fine. 2.4 meters per second, easy to stop. And looks like we're going to miss Val's vessel by a handy distance, so we should be entirely safe to make our final EVA. There we go. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to push our retrograde marker over slightly. There we go. So we're just trickling towards Val's craft, and we'll get ready to do a complete stop when we get about 40 meters out. So there we go, 65. So I think this is going to be around about safe distance, 50 meters. So let's just get onto the retrograde marker and just gently bring ourselves to a stop. There we go. Absolute stop. So, time for Bob and Val to go home. But first things first, get out of the vehicle. Take all the science. So take the data. So let's let go. And we'll do a quick recce to see if there are any modules still open, which would suggest... No, would suggest that any of them are still in use. Nope, they're all closed up. So time for Bob to go home. Now he's going to go home in the second of the capsules, which is this one here. So let's pop on over. So goodbye to the Grumph Bug. We will be back to use you at another time. So he's going to remain in orbit around Minmus for future use. So let's just get back. We've got 43 meters to go. He's got plenty of EVA fuel, 4.9 units of EVA fuel. Apparently he doesn't need any supplies. He's not going to... No. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear, poor Bob. He doesn't like EVAs, and no, neither do I. Now we mustn't crash into... mustn't crash into... There's a... Just here, there's a solar panel, so we need to be popped over this way, because there's the crew hatch. So Val's in the top one piloting. We need to come down a little. And a little more across. Again, let's not go zooming past. So there we go. We're more or less stopped horizontally. I think we're probably still a bit too high. Is he any happier now? No, he's no happier. Ah, well, never mind. You'll be inside soon. Plenty of snacks inside. So where are we going? There we are. So we're just coming in nice and gently. So this is the final stage of our rendezvous. Slow and gentle. In for a bump. And grabs on. And we're now boarded. And all of that lovely science has now been collected. And we are now ready to go home.